Welcome to the Living Your Best Life with Kidney Disease virtual forum. Before we begin, we'd like to review a few technical details. You've joined the presentation listening with your computer speaker system by default. All participants will remain muted. Bienvenue au forum virtuel Mieux vivre avec la maladie rénale. Avant de commencer, nous aimerions passer en revue quelques détails techniques. Vous avez rejoint la présentation en écoute avec le système de haut-parleurs de votre ordinateur par défaut. Tous les participants demeureront en sourdine. We are offering this webinar bilingually using simultaneous interpretation. To hear the forum in English, click the interpretation button and select English. To hear the forum in French, click the interpretation button and select French. Nous vous proposons ce webinaire en version bilingue grâce à l'interprétation simultanée. Pour écouter le forum en français, cliquez sur le bouton Interprétation et sélectionnez le français. Pour écouter le forum en anglais, cliquez sur le bouton Interprétation et sélectionnez l'anglais. The forum is being recorded and will be available on demand on our website, kidney.ca. Please submit your text questions to the presenters by typing them into the Q&A pane in the toolbar at the bottom of your presentation window. Please avoid using the chat box to submit your questions. We can monitor them more effectively when they're submitted in the Q&A pane. Ce forum sera enregistré et sera disponible sur demande sur notre site web rein.ca. Vous pouvez envoyer vos questions à nos invités en les écrivant dans le volet Questions et réponses, situé en bas de la fenêtre de présentation. Nous vous prions d'éviter d'utiliser la boîte de dialogue conversée pour soumettre vos questions. Nous pouvons plus efficacement faire le suivi des questions lorsqu'elles sont soumises dans le volet Q&R. Technical support is on standby. Send an email to itsupport@kidney.ca. Questions techniques? Envoyez un courriel à support.ti@rein.ca. Thank you to Otsuka Canada Pharmaceutical, Paladin Labs, and GSK for providing unrestricted financial support for this forum. Nous remercions Otsuka Canada Pharmaceutique, Laboratoire Paladin et GSK d'avoir apporté un soutien financier sans restriction à ce forum. The information presented in this virtual forum is current as of March 8th and 9th, 2023. The material shared in this session is not intended to be medical advice. We suggest people speak to their doctor about their own individual situation. This information is intended for a Canadian audience. Les informations présentées dans le forum virtuel sont à jour en date du 8 et 9 mars 2023. Le matériel partagé dans cette séance n'est pas destiné à être un avis médical. Nous suggérons aux gens de parler à leur médecin de leur situation personnelle. Cette information est destinée à un public canadien. For more information, please contact kidneyprograms@kidney.ca. Pour de plus amples renseignements, veuillez communiquer avec Programme Rein@rein.ca.
Welcome. Hello, and thank you for joining Come Cook With Us. My name is June Martin, and I've been a nephrology dietitian for over 20 years. I'm the past president of the Canadian Association of Nephrology Dietitians, and I'm part of the team that develops the Spice It Up series of cookbooks. And I'm the co-chair of the Kidney Foundation Programs and Public Policy Committee. I was also part of the team that developed the Kidney Community Kitchen. The cooking demonstration that we're all about to watch was pre-recorded by Anya Webster and Danny Renew. Anya has been working as a registered dietitian for 10 years. She loves talking about food and hearing people's stories about food and culture. Anya believes that all foods can fit as part of a balanced lifestyle, and she enjoys working with patients with kidney disease and finding ways to incorporate new or favorite foods into their diets. She loves trying out new foods and recipes and learning from other chefs and family cooks. On her days off, Anya can be found hiking local trails or playing at the park with her kids. Danny Renuth is a registered dietitian with over 15 years of experience working with patients and clients with kidney disease, irritable bowel syndrome, diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Danny is also involved in multiple research projects and writes and presents for media publications as a health writer. Danny has always enjoyed food culture and the whole experience of food, and has lived in Iran, Germany, the United States, and Canada. So she's been exposed to so many ways of eating. Cooking is her way of bringing all aspects of her professional and personal life into one space. The recipes made by Danny and Anya can be found in the session section by scrolling past the description. They are available in English and French. I hope some of you will be cooking along with Danny and Anya this evening. I will be available after the recording to answer any of your questions. If you'd like to ask a question, please enter it into the Q&A box that you can access in the tools under the presentation window. You can ask your question in either English or French. So I'm excited to start this recording. So please play the recording.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Come Cook With Us. Thank you for joining us today in our patient forum. I'm Anya Webster, registered dietitian, here with my co-host Danny Renuth, also registered dietitian. And today we're going to be taking you on a cultural adventure where we are going to make 3 lunch dishes for you. We're going to start off with a chickpea eggplant bites. Then Danny is going to go into making a barley soup that's also called, how do you pronounce the name, Danny?
It's ashajo. So it's a Persian recipe, an Iranian recipe. I'm really excited to share it with you. It's very simple, but very delicious.
Perfect, thank you. I would have not been able to pronounce that.
That's all good.
And then we're going to finish it off with a cucumber dill salad.
Great.
Okay, perfect. So, and the recipes are posted on the patient forum, so you are on the event forum, so you can also go there to print them out if you're not going to cook along with us today. All right, so we'll get started.
Perfect.
I'm just going to grab, so I have, sorry as I pop off camera, I have already roasted the eggplant for these chickpea bites. You can see it's so beautiful and caramelized. I love roasting vegetables, particularly eggplant, because it can be one of those more bitter vegetables. To remove the bitterness, you can sprinkle it with a bunch of salt. It's called sweating it. But for our kidney-friendly diets, we try to limit how much salt we're using. So roasting it, I found this was really not bitter at all. It's very caramelized. It brings out that sweetness. So what I'm going to do.
So where's the color from? Is that from the turmeric that you put on?
Oh yes,
cumin, or?
Thank you for reminding. Yes, I did sprinkle. So before, you'll see in your recipe, I drizzled this with a lot of olive oil, and then I put cumin and coriander seeds. I believe the recipe calls for seeds, but I couldn't find them at the grocery store, so I think this is just fine with the just crushed.
Great. I love eggplant so much because it's really a great soluble fiber source. So it helps with your digestive health. It's low in potassium. And then the spices that you use on top are really high in antioxidants. So really good for your circulatory system. Pretty well any of the spices we're using today that are really brightly colored, like this mixture here. It's got smoked paprika. I've put in cumin. I've put in some rose petal actually as well, and some turmeric. So all of these are really, really high antioxidants. So what are you doing now, Anya?
So it's a little bit warm, so just be careful. So what I'm doing is I'm just scooping out the eggplant guts. You're not going to be using the skin in this recipe. So we're just scooping out the inside of the eggplant. And I'm putting it into a bowl.
That smells amazing.
Right? And then I do have some garlic on here, so I did throw on just some whole garlic cloves with the skin on, the hopes that I would, there we go. So it should just come out pretty easily from the skin. So we'll just throw that in here. And they're gonna get nice and caramelized as well.
And it's easier to digest the garlic when you roast it like that. Some recipes call for raw garlic, but I know some people have trouble digesting raw garlic. So this way you can get still really good flavor, but without all the digestive issues.
I don't know, some of them are a little bit, I think this really high heat.
Some of them got stuck.
Yeah, some of them got a little bit crunchier. There we go. So we're just gonna scoop.
Some peel in there is okay, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's all gonna get mashed up.
Yes. So the recipe that you will see on online does call to mash this with a fork. I serve this to my kids who don't like chunks. If you also don't like chunks, I'm gonna be using the Ninja behind me, but I just did it in a food processor, just a couple of blitzes, which I found actually to work quite well.
If you have like a handheld blender, it could work, or like you say, you could just go to work and mash it down if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this one, so you put all your eggplant in there, and then you're gonna throw in, so I've got a can of chickpeas that I've rinsed and drained, and that also goes in there.
Anya, a lot of people are stressed when you talk chickpeas. Can we alleviate some of the stress that our patients living with kidney disease have around eating beans and legumes and including chickpeas?
Yeah, so
everyone breathe, it's gonna be okay.
So yes, initially I think a lot of the teaching was beans, oh my gosh, they're high in potassium, they're high in phosphorus, stay away from them. Now we're learning there's so much fiber, there's so many other good nutrients in beans. Plant-based diets, so including more plant-based proteins like beans, legumes, tofu, have been shown to have very good heart health and actually good kidney health as well. So what we're going to be doing, actually I think all our veggies are, all these are plant-based dishes today.
Yeah.
So it is okay. This is actually when you do the nutrition analysis per bite, it's a low potassium, low phosphorus.
Okay, so you're good to go.
So yeah, so it's low potassium, low phosphorus. This one also, it's kind of like a falafel. You'll see when I put it together. With the eggplant in there too, for my CKD patients who are worried about too much protein, that's also going to cut back on the protein content. So still have some with the chickpeas, so it's still going to be a good snack or a good addition to a salad. But with that eggplant, it helps it go a little bit further as well.
Awesome, love that. It's kind of like diluting it out.
Yes, exactly. I'm just gonna move.
So Anya mentioned, we're going on this cultural journey, right? So can you guess where we are? We're obviously in the Middle East because this is where you have the combination of chickpea and eggplant. So many countries in the Middle East celebrate what's called Nowruz in March, and so we thought we would celebrate Middle Eastern cuisine. Some of these dishes aren't necessarily dishes that we would eat at celebrations, but they are things that we would have around all the time. So a falafel type dish would be always in the fridge. Patties are something that kids, like you say, they grab and go for snack. I remember when I was little, my grandma used to make all sorts of patties, and so when I would come home from school, that would be my after school snack. So this is neat. This is perfect.
Sorry, what I was looking back there for, Danny, I forgot is I need a zester.
Oh, a zester. Okay,
If you've got
one. Yes, absolutely. I have one right here.
Oh, there we go. And yes, we were talking about the falafel, and as I was taste testing this recipe and testing out before today, I was thinking back to my time when I went on a trip to Israel, and just thinking about the falafel and the street food everywhere out there, and eating my way through probably every lunch with falafels and pita bread with lots of tahini and veggies. So this is just a great way to bring some of those flavors into your home if you can't go there.
Absolutely. Like a lot of us, it's hard for us to travel. We have kids now, so it's hard for us to go places where you can just be right at the source. And for many of the patients that we work with, travel is a challenge. So this is just your next best thing. The kitchen smells amazing right now. You're tapping into all these spices, seasonings, flavors, colors, textures. The way that it tastes in your mouth, it's all just evoking a lot of great sensation, and that's such an important part of eating.
It's like, and it's bringing some of that culture to your own
Totally
kitchen.
bringing that in. Yeah.
Okay, so what I've got in here is lemon zest, lemon juice, the chickpeas, the eggplant, and then this is also a gluten-free recipe. So anybody who does have to be gluten-free, this one is safe for that. It uses chickpea flour.
Mhm.
If you're not gluten-free, you don't want to go out and buy chickpea flour, you can for sure just use some regular all-purpose flour.
Okay,
I'm not
great.
gonna. So it's about 2 tablespoons. So I thought it needed a little bit more.
Yeah, you want to make a dough, so it just depends on how much you need to get that dough, right?
So just kind of use that when you're pulsing it, see what you think for the texture.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to dump it in the Ninja.
Okay.
How loud is that going to be on?
Well, we're just plug your
Yeah,
ears if you're, or
gonna
mute
only
your,
take- yeah.
mute the camera for a sec while we do that.
You show me how to use this.
Do you want a spoon or?
Yes, I got one.
Okay, perfect. I'll cover the sides. so
Sorry.
I'll cover your spill guard here.
This is our cooking adventure over here.
I know. This is very fancy adventure because, you know, a lot of people don't have fancy gadgets, right? But we happen to have, we're lucky, got this one and it's pretty quick. That's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it jumped in here.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's quite a good pace. Okay, I think I got nearly all of it out. There we go. Okay, I'll leave some in for later.
Okay, so as you can see, I've converted this into this paste. It is still a little bit runny. It will be okay. It will harden a little bit in the fridge. So what we're gonna do now is make this, I will need that one.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, okay. So we're going to make this into these chickpea bites or balls. I found it easiest, they don't really form into balls. So this is not like your traditional falafel, which would very easily form into balls.
It's more like a patty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, and I need to, yeah. Wait, the first thing I think I do, yeah.
You're
And
doing
then
good,
we're going
yeah.
to, then we do it in the polenta after. So we put this in, I'm just gonna do a few of them to show you. You're making them into patties. I just use the same roast, yeah, you can really smell those herbs
smells
because you use
amazing.
those spices, you put them in the oven, right? So you bring out those
Just
flavors
show-
as well when you heat
Show
them
the
up.
camera. I don't know if you
Can
can
you see, guys? There you go.
zoom in. Yeah. So
Perfect.
those are just spread apart a bit because you don't want them to.
Yeah, I don't want them
Crowd.
to stick together. And I've
Yeah.
just used the same pan I roasted the eggplant in.
So not much.
Whatever, yeah, whatever I can do to
Yeah.
not do
We
more
don't
dishes.
like it. We don't like dishes. Yeah, we like to do less dishes.
This recipe should turn into about 20 bites.
Nice.
And so, yeah, so I'm just gonna do that and then you pop them in the oven. Or not the oven, apologies.
The
You pop
fridge.
them in the fridge. They're gonna set a little bit as they sit in the fridge. And then we're going to come back after Danny's done her soup when they've set for a bit and finish them up.
Great. I'm just gonna put these guys in.
And I will turn my oven on as they're cooling in the fridge. I'm gonna pop the oven on to 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're going to bake in there. Again, a traditional falafel, if you were making this or eating this in Israel, would be deep fried. You can fry them for sure, but for our heart health patients, we are baking them. Also, it's a lot less messy than if you're trying to fry on the stove. And they're just quicker because then you can just pop them all in at once and they don't take as long as it would to fry them one by one.
And you can freeze these.
And you can freeze them. So another great thing for these is that they're gonna be a great appetizer. You can also serve them on the side of a salad. We're gonna make a little dip to go along with them as well. Pop them in the freezer for meal planning, just throw them out or bring them out, thaw them out. You can have them as a snack. It's got enough protein and fat in there that it will keep you full
Yeah.
in the snack. We're looking for something with a bit of protein, something with
Yeah.
a bit of fat to keep you full between meals.
Yeah, honestly, if you like savory stuff, like I like a savory snack, after 3 o'clock, you know, when you hit that slump, it's a great idea, great snack to have. And that's actually similar for my soup. So I'll just get started with that and I can show you what goes in this lovely soup. And it's a barley soup, very simple to make. So basically here I have some chicken stock. I didn't make this chicken stock. I purchased a low sodium chicken stock, which is makes life a lot easier, but it is more costly. So if you can make your own stock at home, it's very easy to do. There's a recipe on Kidney Community Kitchen as well for that, so you can check that out. Great, so I'm going to just heat my pan. I've just got this on medium heat. I've got some canola oil here. Now again, Anya, canola oil, it just gets such a bad rap, right?
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I'm trying to deal with your oven is fancy.
My oven is fancy.
There we
You're
go.
doing great.
Okay, we got it. Yes, tell us about the canola oil, Danny.
Yeah, so canola oil is actually a very, very heart healthy oil, right? And so it's great for cooking when you're using high heat. And it got a bit of a bad rap because of the genetically modified canola a long time ago, but you can buy non-GMO canola.
Okay.
You can purchase that and use that, but there's no harm to your health in using the non-GMO canola. In fact, it's better for your health as compared to many other oils. Yeah.
Right, because it's a low saturated, it's not saturated fat, it's a polyunsaturated fat
Exactly.
oil, right? So
Yeah.
you want to be using that in your cooking. And like you said, you can use it in higher heat, so you're going to heat up you're going to saute the veggies in it, right?
That's right. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start by, chopping up my vegetables. So I've got just some carrots here. And when you're cutting up carrots, you can cut them up to whatever size you like. I save the peels of the carrots as well and the ends, and I freeze those. And I don't compost them right away. I use them to make my own veggie stock. So all the trimmings I use, I freeze them.
You know, you taught me that.
Yeah.
I've been doing, if you watch our first Come Cook With Us a few months back, Danny pulled out his bag of frozen shredded carrot peels. And now I've been doing it. My kid said, "What's this for?" I said, this is what makes your chicken stock or what your veggie stock. So it's a great way to cut back on our food waste. That groceries are so expensive now. And you're using your own chicken stock. If you can do that, it's so much cheaper than buying the low sodium chicken stock. And
Absolutely. I mean, it's basically free.
Right, it's all leftovers. It's all the cutting.
And I don't know about, your home culture, but in my home, in my culture, food waste was something that was really frowned upon. And we never ever wasted anything. My grandma and even my mom, she has taught us, my sister and I, to just try to use food in a way where you're reducing food waste. So I'm excited that there's this movement as well to do that now here, because it's how I grew up. So I feel validated, that this is the way we should all be going. And it's okay to open a freezer up and see funny food scraps, nothing wrong with that. Right?
They're going to good use later.
They're going to good use.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I'm just chopping up my onion. And I think my heat, my heat is good now. And so, yeah, I've got a spatula back there ready to stir things.
Do you have one?
Yeah,
Okay,
just in the drawer. Yeah, I'll grab it in a sec. So we wanted to put the onion in first because the onion needs time to become translucent. And you can, again, chop the onion however you like. I'm just doing it into little diced onion, but I've seen people really shred it fine. You can do that.
I guess again, it depends on how chunky you want your soup, right?
Exactly. You can adjust it. Onions are great because they're, again, very inexpensive and they offer a lot of great flavor to your food without having to use salt, right? So what we're trying to do really is keep in mind the low sodium eating. If I can give one recommendation to my patients, it's eat less salt, right?
Mhm.
If you can. I know some people that really take that to heart and eat very little salt. So I'm not saying eat low salt, I'm saying eat less salt, right?
Mhm.
Use less salt because you need some salt still, but a lot of it is in natural foods already. So it's more just like when you're cooking, not to use as much salt or try to cut back on sauces, dressings, things like that.
Awesome. And that's a great thing again about making your own chicken stock, because there can be so much sodium in the store-bought ones,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And the other ones I do find are a bit more expensive. And I did look the other day at the grocery store, and I actually had a hard time finding some of the lower sodium options. So it just depends on where you're cooking. So trying to eliminate some of that food waste, trying to cut back on the salt. You're in control when you're in the kitchen. So you can just throw in a dash of salt. That's still going to be significantly less salt or sodium than if you were to buy something from the store.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at your recipe. You said about 1 cup diced carrots and 1 medium onion. So how many carrots about are you, like 3, I think you took?
I took about 3 carrots. Mine were a bit smaller. And I actually find that soup is a great way for me to get more vegetables into my day. So I usually try to cook more than what many recipes call for, because I really like using soups as a vehicle to get more vegetables in. I don't know about you, but I sometimes struggle getting vegetables in my diet. Maybe you're better than I am about it, but I know I teach this to people all the time, but I hear you. It's hard. It's hard to eat healthy all the time. So this is a good way for me to throw that in.
Yeah, and I mean, we're doing this in February, March, right? So
Yes.
it is a time when I do find it's a lot harder to eat vegetables because they don't taste as good, right?
No.
In the summer, you're going to the garden, you're getting things more fresh,
Yes.
more local, so
Yes.
it's a lot easier to grab those fresh vegetables. So like you said, I do agree with you. I like using soups. I like using sauces and adding those extra vegetables into there.
Yeah.
Especially nice thing with cooking is it's not as scientific as baking, right?
exactly.
You can't just eyeball things when you're baking, but you can with cooking. So if you really like onions, go ahead, throw in some extra onions for sure. Or if you've got half left in the fridge, same as carrots. Just kind of follow your heart, right?
Follow
You're
your
cooking
heart.
with your heart here.
Cook with your heart. That's a really good segue into like back to culture, right? And soup is part of every single culture around the world, right? Just like tea. Soup is like one of those things. Every culture has their tea and their soup. And so you can make this your own. You can make a special family recipe with it, however you like. So I'm just gonna add the chicken stock now.
And so you don't have to saute the carrots, right? I guess you're
Not
just
yet. I'll leave those cooking in the water. But what I will add is now my barley. So I did wash the barley. I washed the barley, rinsed it 5 times. I think it's important to rinse all your grains before you cook them. I mean, I don't do that with oatmeal, but I certainly do that with all the other grains. I just think it's important to get all those impurities out. Now, my recipe is not gluten-free. Barley is, of course, a glutinous grain, but my recipe is, can be vegetarian if you use vegetable stock, right? So, or vegan, I guess, right?
Yes.
Except for the sour cream. You know what? Mine's not so. Maybe. I think you could adapt it. You could adapt it, right? So,
And I liked your comment about the barley. So I've never soaked my barley until I came here, and Dad, I said, what is this sitting in the bowl? And she said, that's all the impurities coming out of the barley.
yeah.
And it can be quite dirty. Even if you've eaten it and you have it, it's fine. I lived, I survived.
Yeah.
But if you've got the time to let it soak, and I think it might cut back a little bit on that cooking time too, won't it?
It sure will. Yeah, because you just kind of soften the outer shell of the grain, and then it just makes it easier. So I just did add my spice blends. I blend my own salt-free spices at home, and you can do the same. If you want recipes for salt-free spice blends, you can look at some of the recipes on Kidney Community Kitchen or look online. There's lots out there. And it's a lot of fun to play with spices because that can transport you to a different world, right?
Mhm.
Asia, Mexico, Middle East, wherever you want to go, Southwest, right? Like Cajun, the world's your oyster, right? You can play. Okay, so I added the spices. I'm just adding the lime juice.
You've got a good contraption there first.
I like my, I know.
It gets all the lines out.
Honestly, I find a few contraptions is all you need in your home, but once you have them, cooking just becomes way easier. And I'm just adding, this is low sodium tomato paste as well. I find, again, this is hard to find. So you know what I think? You can just take unsalted canned tomatoes, just blend them. You can do that too. You can throw that in instead. Because it's harder for me to find low sodium tomato paste.
And what I will say, a couple things. One about the tomatoes. So you do want to, if you're going to be turning it into a paste like this, if you're finding a low sodium tomatoes, you want to get the whole ones,
Yes.
not the diced ones. So
Yes.
the difference which I learned was the diced ones actually keep their shape better when they're canned diced versus the whole ones. So if you want a recipe where you're going to lose the texture and
Yes.
have it just incorporate, you want to use the whole
I
tomatoes.
love that. I so agree with you. The San Marzano tomatoes are amazing. They are so flavorful, and I just find them a great addition. Just gonna lean down and get my lid here.
And how much, so this is okay, again, we've used some tomatoes now. Am I gonna get nervous because this recipe has canned tomatoes in it? Am I okay?
So you're not gonna get nervous. You're gonna breathe and be calm and be confident. You're gonna be the opposite of nervous because you're not using a lot, right? You're just using half a cup for a big pot of soup. And I'm actually reducing the portion of soup I'm making today because I wanted to cook it faster so you could see it. But really, this is diluting out the paste, right? So when you're making any sauces like your pasta sauces, your soups, you can add a bit of this to just get that tomato feeling in there,
Okay.
but not have to saturate the recipe with tomato. But yeah, tomato products like this, they are a bit more processed, right? So the more processed you go, the higher the potassium becomes. So this is like a juice, we would liken it to a juice. So it's going to be more concentrated. So yeah, portions are important for that, but not to say you can't have it.
Exactly, and that's another thing we want you to take home, right? You're making a big pot, again, you're diluting it. If you're only doing, you said half a cup, right?
Yeah.
You're only gonna get a couple tablespoons in your bowl,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And again, we're doing a variety so that when you eat a variety of foods, you're bringing home those different cultures, you're less likely to eat very high potassium in that entire day.
Yeah.
Or throughout your meals,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly. Perfect. For this recipe, I used a quarter cup because I'm making a smaller batch, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Yes, that was my own saying, but yeah, the recipe is available, so you can look at it, you know, as you're watching this. Maybe you're not going to cook it as you're watching us, but then maybe you're going to feel confident to try it later, and that's all okay. We just want you to feel confident to try things because you can see how simple this is. And so I'm going to let that boil for a bit, and then I will add my carrots.
Okay.
So just at home, if you're doing it, this should really come to a boil, but I'm just going to throw the carrots in now, and it will all just happily just jump around together, right?
Right, and I mean, you
Happily.
can throw them in kind of, again,
Totally.
it's not science,
It's
you just
not
want them to
science.
cook.
Exactly. And so bringing soups to a boil and then reducing it is the best so things don't get too mushy. So we want a bit of texture for this soup. Okay, perfect. So over to you. How is it going in the oven? do you think?
Okay, so I think we've got them in the fridge.
Oh, sorry, and the oven is on. Yes,
Yeah,
I have the
I
fridge
figured
and the
it out.
oven. Perfect.
Oh,
Oh, no problem. My fridge is a bit of a
There we
full
go.
fridge. Okay. Perfect.
All right, so these are my chickpea bites, which have now been sitting in the fridge. Magic TV, they've been sitting there for 2 hours, right? Fast forward. So you're gonna grab them, and I have, again, this is polenta. So another low potassium grain. Good way to, again, add different grains to your, different flours to your diet. We've got chickpea flour in there, we've got some polenta, cornmeal flour. Again, this is all gluten-free. So you can, if you don't have it, if this is not part of your normal cooking and you don't want to go out and buy a whole bunch, you can just do it some breadcrumbs or do it in some flour and bake them. It'll be fine. Right. So I'm going to, this is not pretty.
Okay.
They're not as pretty as your regular falafel. The eggplant keeps it more moist. So it doesn't hold its shape as well as if you did just chickpeas, which would be a more traditional Israeli falafel. Would be chickpeas, parsley, garlic, the cumin, the coriander, right? So we've added the eggplant, so it is more mushy. So keep that in mind. but you can still kind of, I'm gonna need a spoon.
Yep.
Pick it up and roll it. Again, it doesn't matter, it's a little
You're
bit
battering it,
messy, right? You're
basically.
just kind of
Yeah.
coating it so you get that nice crisp edges on the outside, right? And that's what's gonna keep the moist. Yeah, this is what I did at home when I, you know, but they taste really
I
good.
love getting my hands dirty. Like, I know, you know, this is fun for doing with your kids.
Right,
Like,
they love this
they love
stuff,
it. They
right?
love it. But
One
I love,
loves it, the other one is, and
yeah,
loses it, but you know.
Yeah.
So it's okay, don't, the first time I made them, I was a little
Doesn't have
stressed
to be
out because they
perfect.
weren't like my regular chickpeas or falafel,
Mhm.
but you know, it's okay.
But the fact that they're more moist is actually nice because
Mhm.
they won't dry out as much. Like
Exactly.
like regular falafel might dry out. That's why they deep fry it, right? So that it has tons of oil.
Exactly, exactly. So this has got your low oil, it's got your eggplant. Another thing I like about this, and I mean, I've got 2 kids at home, so I do try to talk about exposure, but I do this with adults. This is how I introduced my husband to new foods he wasn't used to, is this would count as a exposure to eggplant. You know, some of us have a love or hate relationship with eggplant. I think you and I both love it, right? You know,
Yeah.
but you've had your dishes where the eggplant was very bitter,
Yeah.
or it's kind of like the
Yeah.
first time you tried it, you said, what is this mushy
Yeah.
thing, right? So this is a way to introduce eggplant to yourself or to your family in a bit more mild, hidden, not hidden, but kind of, no hidden. It's
In a subtle.
in a subtle, there
Let's
you go,
call
thank
it
you, that's a
subtle.
bit.
Yes.
Don't tell your family it's not in there, you can tell them.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than being surprised, right? Like, you want to introduce the food being authentic about it, but you can just say, I put a little bit of eggplant in there. I put a little bit of eggplant in this.
And that helps you too, right? Because if you learn to like the taste with this, when it's got all those spices and the chickpeas blended in, then you're more likely to be open to trying it next time you see it on a plate.
To be honest, if I were to make this at home, I would add a bunch of fresh parsley right into it. You're right about that. So you can adapt this recipe, and maybe you want to add some parsley into it, because then you get this really pretty color, and color is an important aspect of food and making it look pleasant. So yeah, I love working with dough, so I just got right in there.
I know, thank you, Danny. She's
I did.
helping
I
me out
followed
here.
my instincts on this because I love playing with dough. And this was something like my grandma, she would get up early in the morning and she would just batch cook. And I would wake up to the smell of onion and garlic and fresh herbs and everything amazing for breakfast. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful moment in the morning to wake up and be like, oh wow, I'm gonna get some good food.
Oh, I can't imagine, that would be such a good feeling
so
to wake up to. And good smells, right? You walk down the kitchen. And yeah, so batch cooking, right? So we made all of these. If you did this at home, you did it all, you'd have 20 of them. You might need two cookie sheets. And then once these are done, I'll show you how we're gonna plate them. But then you can pull them out, right? And same with the soup, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think we even talked about it, but you're making this huge batch, feed your family, feed yourself, and then pop it in the freezer and put them, you know, I've been
How do
going.
you like, how do you like to freeze it? Okay, I love this.
I'm learning.
We're nerding out on freezing. Okay, let's nerd
So
out.
normally I freeze everything in just one big container and I pop it in and then pull it out. And now I'm stuck with this frozen blob and trying to attack it with my knife to break it up. And I mean, you don't want to see this in my house sometimes. Or then one day I almost put the glass thing in the water and realized don't put glass in hot water because I almost lost all my left. Thankfully I was doing this and I just had a thought, oh, this is bad. And I
will retract.
So what I now do is you can buy those little containers at the dollar store, little plastic containers, they're about a cup, maybe 2 cups. Freeze them individually. Don't forget to label. Oh my goodness, that has been the biggest change to my.
What is this brown stuff? Right?
No idea. When did I freeze it? Was it a year ago or 5 years ago? Because my deep freeze is deep. So label it. I just use some masking painter's tape. Green painter's tape with Sharpie.
Simple.
Put what it is. Put it in a 1 cup or 2 cup measuring container. And then what's great is on days when I don't have any leftovers for myself for lunch after I've packed everything for everyone else, I can just pull that out and take it with me to work too the next day or pop it out for myself. and I also know how much is in there, so I'm not gonna waste it the second time I thought it.
Perfect. I love that. I'm gonna do that.
There you go. I was gonna say, do you have tips? Because you might have.
Okay. Are we gonna stick it in the oven?
We're gonna stick it in the oven, but what you're gonna do,
Okay.
I don't have cooking spray.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna drizzle it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you had cooking spray at home,
Yeah.
you're gonna spray them really well with oil.
Yeah.
Again, this is because you're not deep frying them. That spraying is going to help them get that nice crust on the top. Okay, so I'll show you what they
Yeah,
look like
let's do that.
now. Can you see
They
them?
look a bit dry.
So yeah, so you're gonna get a nice crust. So I'm just going to drizzle. This is olive oil, and I'm just gonna drizzle. Or you could paint it if you've got a pastry brush.
Yeah.
But you know, we're
This is
trying
nice.
not to be fancy. We've used our one gadget today with our lemon, so we're trying not to use too many because you know some of you might just be starting in the kitchen, and it takes time to get.
And space, I think, you know, we talk about freezing, we talk about all the gadgets, and not everyone has the space for all this. So, you know, I would just scale these recipes down. If you have a cooktop, your soup is good to go. It's one pot, right? If you have an oven, even if it's a small oven, this you can make, you know, in a smaller way, or you can even do it as maybe a sheet and cut it up after. You know, you can play with that.
Yeah, I think this one uses the whole can of chickpeas, but if you're not gonna make it all, you can always save that can of chickpeas too and throw it in a salad or pop it in a soup as well, right, to add some protein. So we're gonna pop these in the oven. They take about 20 minutes. What I would do, your oven is probably, your oven is nicer than mine. We cook in this kitchen because Danny has a beautiful kitchen. And I'm gonna set a timer for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna check them. The recipe doesn't call for flipping them, but I liked to because I don't know if it was just my oven was cooking, the bottoms were browning, but the tops didn't.
Yes, right.
So I'm gonna flip them, I'll check them. Again, you know your oven best, so see if you wanna flip it. Kind of, we're giving you a guide, but then you go from what you need.
Exactly. My soup is boiling and it smells amazing.
Oh, I love the smells in this kitchen when we're cooking.
And the color is so beautiful. I'll show you when I plate it, but it's, I don't know if you can see it with this camera. The color is so pretty. It's so beautiful. So we've got lots of great colors, and you want that when you're eating. That's really, really important to have lots of color.
Because you eat with your eyes first, right?
Your eyes,
Your nose, everything.
all your senses. Yeah.
I noticed that especially the other day I made for my family. We did fish and chips. So we had the white battered fish, and then we had the French fries, which were white, and then I did cauliflower because I had it, and I put it on. And I said, "Oh my gosh, this is so white." I know my kids that have started to ketchup on everything to add the red. Oh my gosh, oh, this doesn't look as pretty. You know, if I throw maybe some broccoli or did some, you know. Anyway, so you do really notice that you cook with your eyes. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that kids like beige food. They like everything kind of the same color, but as you get older, it becomes different. Then you want those diverse colors. But great to have them around, like even and the way that the parsley is, you know, if you wash a bunch of parsley and you just have it ready to go, it can be an add-on quick to a meal that looks beige or looks monochromatic. You can throw in some greenery like that with herbs. And that's very, I would say, Middle Eastern as well, like a Mediterranean. And you know, we talk about the Mediterranean diet, right? And we call it but the Mediterranean diet isn't just you know, consistent of Mediterranean ways of life. It's also all the way across the Middle East. For thousands of years, people have eaten the Mediterranean, what's called the Mediterranean diet, right? So it's kind of like the diet that spans that area where we have really good soil and grow lots of different food. And yeah, we're really lucky.
Everything tastes so good there.
Everything's
a hotter
so
climate.
good. I know.
But you know, you can bring it here. And for those of you not familiar with the Mediterranean diet, what are some things that you recommend to your patients, Danny?
So, you know, fish is very, very expensive, but fish is a great thing, a great big part of the Mediterranean diet, because it's a great protein source and it's low in fat, it's high in omega-3 fatty acids. Now, if fish is expensive, I love going to nuts and seeds next. Like I have lots of nuts and seeds around. I notice nuts and seeds go on sale sometimes, so I'll buy extra and I'll store them in the fridge just so they last a bit longer. And then of course our healthy oils, right, that we use. We're using canola and olive oil today. Those are my top oils, I would say.
Yeah.
And then lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of color. What else? Low-fat dairy products, if you use
Yeah.
dairy.
Yeah, so today we're going to be using some Greek yogurt. And again, we're using Greek yogurt because it's a thicker fat. For those needing higher protein, it's got a little bit more protein. For those who don't, it's still okay. We're going to be using less than a cup as our dip.
Mhm.
And the Greek yogurt can be creamier with less fat. So if you are worried
Mm.
about the saturated fat in dairy, you can use a lower fat, milk fat, but still get that nice creaminess.
I love it. I love Greek yogurts in my life.
Yeah.
It's in my life.
And the other thing, we use chickpeas, right? So the pulses, the legumes, right? Those can be quite less expensive than meats, right? Especially at this time when chicken and beef and eggs are so costly at the grocery store. I love using chickpeas or beans or
Anything,
lentils,
right?
really
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
to beef things up. I don't know
Exactly.
how to beef things up. I guess. And it makes your meat go further, also gives you that heart healthy plant-based protein.
Mhm.
And if you've got the time, you can soak. The dry beans are going to be significantly less expensive than your
For
canned,
sure.
right? So you can soak them. I just use some canned chickpeas.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more expensive, but still cheaper per protein than your chicken or your meat, right?
Perfect. And like the whole grains too,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So if you have barley, you have quinoa, you have millet, you have brown rice, wild rice, like all the whole grains, they are an incredible powerhouse of nutrients. And again, carbs get a bad rap all the time, but we need whole grains. They're so important. And again, in the Mediterranean and Middle East, people don't eat a lot of meat. Meat is saved for celebratory holidays, right? You don't on a day-to-day basis fill up on that. You fill up on your pulses and you fill up on your grains and your veggies.
Right? Like when you teach your plate, you want to be half your plate,
Half your plate.
your veggies,
Pulse.
and then do your portion of your carbs, and then do your protein, right?
Perfect. Great. All right,
Awesome.
my dear. Are you waiting for you have 4 minutes till you flip?
Oh, look at you. How do you know?
So I've kept track. Yeah. And
So-
do you want to do your salad?
Yeah, I
Cucumber
think
salad?
maybe we can get started on the salad, and then just don't mind me as we're kind of cooking in real time here as well. So I
can
will
help too.
run and we can flip it if we need to.
Okay.
So we're gonna make a cucumber salad, and I was thinking about this. Again, cucumbers are great because they are available all year long. They are low potassium. But growing up, I think when we first moved here, my parents didn't know about, we never had lettuce salads. I don't know how your family was, but it was always cucumber, tomato, onion.
Mhm.
Those were our salads. And then when I went to Israel too, it was cucumber, tomato,
Yeah.
dill salads.
Yeah.
And then when I went down to Croatia, it was cucumber, dill, right? It was all those things.
Yeah.
And so here we do use a lot more lettuce, but this is another way to make more of a Mediterranean style salad. And
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I came to Canada when I was 12, and my mom became obsessed with iceberg lettuce. And I remember everywhere we went, we had to get iceberg lettuce. It was like such a new thing. It was such a new phenomenon. And I lived in Germany before that, but in Germany, you know, there's lots of green salad, but the lettuce is different.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's definitely Canadian salads that we've started to use and love in our home. But cucumbers are for sure, like the cucumber tomato concept is very, very popular in the Middle East. Raw tomatoes are perfectly fine for a kidney-friendly diet. So like a Greek type salad or whatever is something that could go really well with this meal too, if you didn't want to do just cucumber, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna grab my bowl.
Perfect.
The other thing I will say about cucumbers, they are more expensive
Yes,
now.
yes, they
So
are.
you can, we're gonna show you the recipe as it is. You can for sure dilute it and do a little bit less cucumber and add more lettuce, which I think now has again come down and
Yeah.
I can't keep track of, you gotta just kind
I
of
found
shop
a great
what's.
deal on bagged spinach, so then I
So
just
you
did
can do that too,
So
and we know
yeah.
the bag stuff is lower potassium too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I love using that. I love cabbage. Come on, we can't
Oh,
have
oh,
an episode
We did do
where we-
cabbage today.
where
We
we
talk
talk
about
about-
it.
I
You do
know,
it. You do it.
I
You
know.
tell them.
Anya and I love cabbage. I mean, your cuisine being, you know, more around cabbage rolls and stuff, you know, is partly probably why you love it. It's a part of your life. And Iranian cuisine too, we use a lot of cabbage. We have cabbage rice, we have cabbage rolls, we have all that. Cabbage is cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheerful, it's versatile, it lasts forever, but please don't pre-cut it, right? Use
Yes.
only what you need, shrink wrap the rest, store it in the fridge. It's an incredible vegetable. So here's my March challenge for you. Get some cabbage.
Yeah,
Any color, any color, any type, anything you like. Napa cabbage is lovely as well. It's kind of like
yeah.
the Chinese cabbage. I love that so much. Red cabbage. The list goes on.
We're
We
gonna buy
obsessed.
cabbage.
We're gonna have an episode on cabbage.
I think that's gonna be our next one because we're very passionate about one thing, and it's cabbage. You know, my mom called, she said, I made you some, my parents pickle or make their own cabbage. They make it only for me and my sister because we love the cabbage rolls, and then they shred up cabbage. You can have a sauerkraut salad.
Oh,
we're getting up.
I'm salivating.
We're too excited. Can
Back
you
to
tell?
cucumber. I'm sorry, cucumber.
we're
We don't
using
mean to
cucumber
undermine it, but
again.
yes. Back to cucumber.
In the summer, it's going to be less expensive. Again, while we're making the soup, right? Your soup is a great way to get all your extra vegetables. This is just going to give you a little pop of color. And again, we're also batch cooking, so you can make this salad. Another thing with using cucumber instead of lettuce is that you can dress this and make the whole salad and store it in the fridge, and it's going to keep without getting wilted like your lettuce.
I love that. Yeah, lettuce goes that way.
Right? You have to
Do you
use it all right away. I put a little. I got 1 minute according to this.
Okay.
You might have. It's again with
Not-
cooking. It's not as scientific, right? If I'm not going to burn it so much. I think it's looking okay.
I
Or do you
think
want to flip it before we
It's
start?
setting a little bit on the bottom, so I can just flip it while we do the salad.
Sure. Do you want to just show everyone before we?
So what we're looking for when we flip is there's kind of like a golden brown edge around the falafel, and so I know that it's ready. It's like a pancake. It's kind of starting to peel off the sides, so I know it's ready. I'm just going to flip it back here, I guess, while you do the
Thank
salad.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you're wearing oven gloves, of course. Remember, we're using something to take your hot things out of the oven. Okay, so we're going to start with the dressing. As we prepare for these cooking classes, we have lots of dishes in front of us, but I'm trying to give you some ideas of how to make it at home without all these dishes. So I'm going to use a bowl, and I'm going to just make my dressing in here. Again, because this isn't a lettuce salad, it's not going to wilt on me. Oh, there's my timer. It's not going to wilt on me, so I can just make my dressing in here, make my whole salad in here, serve it like this. Whatever's left over, I can wrap or store in a container and put it in the fridge. So we've got our olive oil. And I think now I don't have as much olive oil in here, but you want 6 tablespoons. Danny, I might get you to just put a bit more olive oil in there for me.
No problem. I'll be right back.
And then I've got 1 tablespoon of honey or maple syrup. So we had maple syrup on hand. You use whatever you've got, whatever's your favorite sweetener. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And this is kind of that traditional, what brings me back home to the red wine vinegar. I feel like, I don't use it as much on my lettuce salad, but this is exactly what I picture when I came off the beach in Croatia and my aunt made salad, right? So.
And you know, if you have diabetes, and some of our viewers might be living with diabetes and kidney disease at the same time, all of these recipes will be lower glycemic index. They're higher in fiber, they have protein sources. So if you've got a little bit of honey in your salad dressing, it's not going to tip your sugars over the edge, because you've got all these other foods that you're enjoying at the same time, and so that's bringing down the glycemic index.
Exactly, right? And you're just adding that little bit of sweetness. It was only a tablespoon of it to make this whole batch, and it's just going to sweeten up that vinegar because it can be quite strong.
I think this is a bit of more of a French recipe because of the grainy mustard.
Oh, maybe this is what I had at home.
Yeah,
The grainy. It just makes it so nice. I like the look of it.
Pretty. I like the look of it
Can
too.
you see that in there? I'll just show you. So
That's
that's your
very
dressing in there.
And it smells amazing, amazing.
So if you were in my house, my mom would make you peel this cucumber.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I'm not going to because my husband laughs at me every time I peel it for my kids. But so you could definitely peel it, but you're going to get more fiber if you keep it on here.
Absolutely.
You give it a good wash. So I think it's okay. Plus it gives a little bit more color, a little
Yeah.
bit different green.
And I think the texture of the cucumber just stays more intact if you're trying to save this for a few days.
Exactly.
You know, to eat over a few days. The peel just helps prevent the cucumber from getting mushy.
So now this was sliced. You can cut, you're making a salad. It doesn't matter, nothing's gonna get cooked. So it doesn't matter how you cut, cut your cucumber.
Yeah, and don't you love that we can use the same cutting board? Like, we're not cooking with meat.
Yes.
We feel so confident and comfortable. We don't have to worry about cross-contamination. I think that's my favorite thing about plant-based eating, is that you just don't have to worry about the chicken juices touching your raw vegetables, and you know, it prevents you from getting sick. And we work with people who have had kidney transplants who have to be really, really careful about their immune system, about these foodborne illnesses, you know, the salmonellas that you fly. And so I do think that plant-based eating is a great choice, a few days a week to try. And then when you're eating more plants, it's preventative, you know, it helps protect your heart health, it helps keep your cholesterol levels lower, it helps your blood sugars stay better. And when you're on medications that have other side effects, it's a great way to naturally protect yourself and protect your system.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for. So these, I'll show you how I cut. Basically, just want it bite size. You do you, however you like them. You can cook them in rounds. You can cook.
I want to eat this now.
Right.
So good.
And then I've got this green onion. I like mine thin.
I like that.
You know,
That looks great.
another thing I probably do. This recipe doesn't, but if you find red onion, it's a stronger flavor. It's not as strong as the white onion. Gives a nice color. To help balance it out a little bit, you can soak this in water. So cut it up, put it in a little bowl of water, and it's gonna get rid of some of that really strong intensity. So that, for my salads, is normally what I do. If you're gonna cook with the red onion, don't worry about it. But it just kind of, it's not as
Astringent,
you know,
Uh-huh.
in your
That
your
is a
face.
great tip. So is it warm water you would use or cold? It
Cool
doesn't
water
matter.
doesn't matter. Just soak it in some water. You can cut it up ahead of time and then just pop it in some water. I say pop it in a lot. That's my word.
Pop it in.
Pop it,
Pop it in. I think it's a word we want to use more because we want to show you how easy this is, right? And I know there's two of us, so of course it's easier. So if you live in a household where you've got somebody else and they don't usually step in the kitchen with you, get them to chop something. Everyone, anyone can chop. Get them to wash something. Get them to do something to help you. You know, energy is currency, right? And we only have so much of it. So don't feel like it's all on your shoulders, right? Like, ask for help. And if somebody can do something, that's still better for you than you having to field all that. I know a lot of people get exhausted doing all the shopping, the meal planning. So it's nice to have someone at home that can kind of help step in.
Lighten the load, right?
Yeah.
By spreading it out.
Exactly, and it makes cooking more joyful. Like, you chat, you banter, you talk about your day. It just makes it a lot nicer than you kind of cooking like a machine trying to get dinner on the table.
Right? Yeah. It's more of a, oh my gosh, what's the word?
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Yeah, there's a word. It'll come to me by the end of the show, I'm sure.
That smells so good.
Right? So that dill, again, this salad, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, right? Traditionally, you're gonna be having these more of the year because of the warmer climate. Whereas here, this is something I'd probably serve more in the, we're getting to the spring, right?
We are.
So this would be more
That's
of a
kind of
spring
why we thought we
salad,
would
right?
pick this recipe, because we're kind of begging spring to come. So we think that this recipe will get us there.
Exactly, yeah. We're hoping today is a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah,
We're
today is
hoping.
good. So I know, that's right.
So look at all that color,
Oh,
right? It's
so
gonna look so
pretty.
nice on our
So
plate.
pretty.
And I didn't add any salt,
Mhm.
right? So I've got all my flavor is coming from the vinegar, the dill. The dill is gonna give you really good flavor. This called for about 2 tablespoons. Again, you gotta taste it. Now is when you would try it, find out, throw in some more.
Absolutely.
Olive
So I'm
oil.
gonna take you up on that and make it my own, and I think all this would just beg for.
Oh, you know, I was thinking this is why we're on the same wavelength.
We're on the same wavelength. The zest, the skin of this lemon has got so much flavor. So don't throw your lemon out right away once you've squeezed the juice out of it. Use the peel and make this beautiful zest. And it's just gonna pop so much pop, right? So much more flavor into the salad and make it even more delicious than it already is, which is kind of impossible to think because it's so delicious as is. This is my bowl. So when I make this, I'll probably just eat it right out of the bowl.
Right?
Right out of the bowl.
I mean, I only use my one cucumber, right? You
We could, yeah,
can keep cooking and
yeah,
just add a bit
exactly.
more. But yeah, so that.
Wow, my soup is so happy right now. It's dancing.
Oh, look at, I don't think they can see it. You're gonna have to bring it up to the.
Oh my gosh, my soup is dancing. I love barley a lot because it thickens naturally. I don't love using thickeners in soup, so barley naturally thickens your soup. It's got a lot of soluble fiber. So as you cook it, soluble means it dissolves in water, and then it makes this really nice gel consistency. And it does that in your body too, which is what you want if you don't want to get, bummed up or constipated. Yeah, so there you go. So great, so I'm almost ready to plate my soup.
Yep.
How is our situation in the oven?
I think we've got maybe a couple more minutes.
Couple
We're
more
looking
minutes
okay.
on that. Perfect.
The other note on the soluble fiber, so that's another great way to introduce more fiber to your diet, right?
Yes.
You're making a soup with barley, something you don't always use. It's a lower potassium starch as well,
Absolutely.
and it's going to help you keep your digestion going
Yeah.
nicely.
Absolutely.
Good for your blood sugar control, good for your heart health, right?
Exactly. So I've got, this was my sour cream, I think. So I'm gonna get my soup bowl.
Yeah, so I think you plate that and I'll pull out the chickpeas.
Yeah, sounds great. So it says here in the recipe to put the sour cream in a bowl. And then it asks you to pour the soup on top of it. So
Oh, that's different than
Yeah,
I would
I know,
think.
this is different. So I'm just going to get, I think, a soup ladle or a soup scoop. Because I want everything in there. So then I'm just
That looks
going,
really
oh my
good. Look at all
gosh,
that color from the
Oh.
turmeric. The barley's gone quite yellow.
I love it.
And that turmeric is a really good anti-inflammatory
So good.
spice. And it adds so
So
much
good.
flavor. Oh, it smells good.
This is, so this is now going to stir. And it's going to become a bit more creamy, right? Now, I'm gonna say, this is not how I traditionally eat it. This is what the recipe does. So if you don't wanna do this with the sour cream, you don't have to. You can just spoon the barley soup straight into your bowl. And then Anya's going to chop a bit of fresh parsley. And like I say, I always have these herbs on hand. They're washed, they're ready to go. And I pretty well put parsley and dill and even dried herbs on everything I eat. So this is the soup. And it's just so simple and so beautiful, and it's all done.
Awesome.
Great. So we can
Oh, it
just
smells
put
so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pull out I'm gonna grab my chickpea bites and we can plate those.
Great. And this is your plate, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I'll switch spots with you so I can use your
perfect.
gas stove for. So I've also, again, this recipe just called for these chickpea bites. I liked them with a little bit of extra fat just to keep that snack more satiating. So this is yogurt, just some Greek yogurt. And here I have Mrs. Dash, the original one.
Yeah,
I think
just original
smells
Mrs.
good.
Dash. Yeah.
Mrs. Dash, so salt-free seasoning mixed with a little bit of parsley. You use what you've got on hand, just to give it a little bit of that extra flavor for the yogurt. So I'm just gonna mix them in. You could make like a traditional tzatziki too with cucumbers and garlic and dill. We've got it all here, and lemon juice. And then I'm going to put a little bit of. We're using a lot of lemon zest. This is really that sort of Mediterranean style.
Love it.
Flavor. It adds so much flavor. And then, I didn't use your fancy.
Oh, sorry. Leave the fancy things over here.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I'm just gonna, I'm sorry. We're really not very fancy over here, other than for the lemon squeezer. dirty when you're cooking, right?
This is pretty nice, I have to say. It's just so simple, but it's so delicious.
Right. So I just mix that all in. You can see that, you know, use your favorite flavors. And then I'm gonna just,
I like how you're plating everything, like you're like, this is my snack, but you're taking the time to plate it really nicely, which I think is nice because we don't look after ourselves enough.
this is how you do a little bit of self-care,
Yeah.
right? You just
Yeah.
put it like pretend you're in a restaurant.
Yeah,
Make it look
I know, it
fancy.
looks so fancy, I love it.
So I've had asbestos fingers. I would recommend like this is what like so in traditionally if we're talking about my mom always says if you can touch things that are a little bit, I mean I wouldn't touch the pan, but you know I can pick things up that are hot. My husband uses it, he tries. That's because it says you're not afraid of your mother-in-law.
Oh,
If you can't touch it, means you're afraid of your
That's
mother-in-law.
cute. That's a good one.
That's what I tell my
I love
mother-in-law. You know,
That means you've mothered enough that you're like, no, I know.
yeah,
I know a thing or two. I know about asbestos fingers.
yeah.
That's
So
perfect.
there you go.
That
So
looks amazing.
we're gonna do this. We're gonna use so you layer. You know,
Yeah, I love that. That
I'm
is
not.
so
Listen, I'll show you the one down here. I mean, down you did an instant job. You
This
know,
is kind of how I would really eat it because like I told you, I can't do greens very regularly without kind of planning. And so I buy pre-washed lettuce greens, whatever's on sale, and I'll put that with everything I eat. That way I know I'm getting some fiber and green stuff. Beautiful.
Yeah, look how much pretty. I mean, your oven. This was in my oven.
Yeah.
It wasn't as pretty as this one.
You
So
may just need to cook it longer
Yeah.
than what the recipe says, right?
at home, yeah, like you said, if you don't have that extra hot, this was on convection bake.
Mhm.
So if you don't have that, you're not afraid of your
I'm
mother-in-law
not afraid of-
either. Look at that.
Not afraid of you, Loretta.
We've got a good relationship with our mother.
Yes, we do.
Right? So this is it. And then, you know, you could throw some salad onto it, pop some salad. 'Cause it's
Pop
not
salad
today.
onto it.
Pop some salad.
Make
onto
it
the
with
plate.
soup, right? Match it with soup. I mean, you've got so much option here. Great. So it was a pleasure to cook with you as always, Anya. Pleasure to have you all watching. Thank you so much. We hope you will check out the Kidney Wellness Hub. It's a great website with many great resources and groups that you can join to feel supported and to feel engaged and to feel empowered. So we have our cooking show as well, and we have 2 filmings that we've done, but we're planning to do more. So hopefully you will tune in and watch our videos as well as we cook together and enjoy food together.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to cook with us.
Thank
Come
you.
cook with us.
Have a wonderful patient forum and happy March.
Hello, everyone. I am so interested to hear what everyone thought about that session. I thought it was fantastic. These are obviously women who are excellent at cooking, but I hope that you found a few tips and tricks in there that you could fit into your own daily life. So we just have, I think, a couple minutes to answer questions. If you want to go ahead and enter them in the Q&A box, and you can answer either in English or French. So the only question I have here I'll answer live. It's asking about daily values of sodium, potassium, and phosphorus, and are they based on what your kidney function is? And the answer to that question is that it's not actually dependent on what's happening with your kidney function. It's more dependent on what's happening with your blood work. So almost everybody is recommended about a 2,000 milligram sodium diet, but potassium and phosphorus are individualized. And yes, you should be able to print your recipes. So the question that just came up was, can we print the recipes? And I believe, yes, you can print them off the Kidney Community Kitchen website. If someone from the Kidney Foundation has a different answer, please let me know.
No, that's right. You can print them off the site, and you can also scroll below the actual pane, below the speakers and description, and download the files from there too.
Okay. Thanks, Lydia. Okay, and it is on the Kidney Community Kitchen website. And, I think that is all the questions we have. I think we'll give it another second section. I hope everybody is going to take their cabbage challenge to heart for the month of March and try some cabbage-based recipes. I think there's a really interesting roasted cabbage wedge recipe on the Kidney Community Kitchen. It's a good start. And I think that there's no other questions. We'll close this off. That was a fantastic presentation by Danny and Anya. So excited to get cooking on some of these recipes.